Hey everyone, welcome back to She Burbs Podcast. I am your host, Brooke Wright.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sleeverse Podcast. Today's guest is Tom. Hi Tom.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to my podcast. Thank you for being a guest today.
Well, hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
So, can you tell our listeners who or what inspired you to become a musician?
My parents were music fanatics, and there was always music on around the house, and in the car. And I remember they were listening to Paul Anka. My dad was sort of Paul Anka was a little bit, even for them that was music for older folks. but they were listening to all kinds of music, classical, jazz, rock and roll, whatever. Yeah. So we might have Rachmaninoff, in the morning, and then Led Zeppelin at night. So it was very like a huge variety, Glenn Miller, what have you. But I remember being very impressed by Paul Anka, and impressed with his stuff. I remember going to my dad used to take me with him when to wash the car or to do any sort of handiwork. And this one day we went to get gas, and in those days you didn't pay at the pump. Now you do, but in those days, you had to go in to pay. And I stayed in the car, and my dad had bought this tape of, I think it was 21 Golden Hits by Paul Anka. And he left it on. And I remember listening to a song called Lonely Boy. And that was really like something changed for me. I mean, I was 6 at the time, which is ridiculous because I had a 6-year-old downstairs. Yeah, I just, because in my mind, I just realized that I heard it clearly, Anka's double track vocal and the Latin rhythm. And I just, something just kind of, it was like a lightning had struck. And when we went home, I wanted my dad to give me the tape, and I took the tape up to my room, and I just really just played the heck out of that. I got guitar for Christmas that year, started writing tunes on my own. One of the first songs that I ever wrote was called Coca-Cola Song. It's really a ghastly ditty, and I still remember it. It's it's awful, but it was a start. Albeit a very modest one, but a start. And really from there on, it grew.
Wow, that's awesome. So you taught yourself how to play the guitar?
I did, yeah. I as a result, I think that I still play certain chords wrong because I just learned them, by listening. And the way I kind of press the strings is wrong a little bit, but I've learned out of those, because sometimes when you record in the studio, if you're not doing it right, it's very difficult to play in tune. I won't get into that now because I've been boring, but I taught myself to play.
Nice. So how would you describe your music style?
Melodic pop rock with retro flavor. It's kind of weird, very difficult, because nowadays, obviously, you might even be aware of this, there are like 1,572 genres out there, but when I was a kid, there were like 16, and especially the music that inspired me, which was the music that my parents listened to, the music from the 60s, the late 60s and early 70s. If you look at that time in music, what was being played on the radio was rather eclectic, as opposed to what it is now. And so when the time came to find out or figure out what genre my music was part of, it proved to be a daunting task. Neither the record label rep or me could really figure it out. They wanted to label me and put me under a category of singer-songwriter, but that's and so the best way to describe it is this retro flavored melodic pop rock.
Nice. I did listen to a few of your songs. Like, it kind of reminds me of I don't want to say like maybe a little bit of Hoobastank, a little bit, and like Creed, a little like that.
Okay. Yeah, I like both those groups. Yeah.
So, what would you be doing right now, and if you wasn't in the music industry?
It's kind of I you know, haven't really thought a lot about that. I do. I'm also a university lecturer nowadays. So if I'd never really gone down that road, I would have gotten to that. Probably I would have gotten to teaching sooner.
Nice. Wow.
Because with kids, you gotta have a stable job as well. And I think yeah. I would have just stayed with that. I'm glad I didn't. I just it's good to do it now. It's good to do it now. I love my job, but back then, when the world was new, I really needed to focus on my songwriting and all that other stuff. That was just fun.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. So, what do your fans have to look forward to this upcoming year? Like, do you have any new music coming out? Are you gonna go on tour or anything?
No, I won't tour anymore. There's going to be a song released on December the 3rd, called By 2022. That will be sort of a New Year's song. It's I always look for new angles, and I thought I'd write one. It's like a letter to the coming year, as opposed to writing a love song. It's kind of I just mad at them. The song is about a guy who was mad at 2021, and he's really looking forward to 2022. That's an understatement, but I won't get into all of that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's coming out on December the 3rd, and I thought it worked out well. So I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to promoting it. And it's going to be part of an album released either next year or in 2023. Let's see.
Nice. That's amazing. Yeah, because 2021 has been a bad year. Like, I think it's worse than 2020. So,
but aren't people always looking forward to the new year? It's kind of like a clean slate, isn't it? New, fresh start. And so whatever you feel that you've done wrong, or however you feel you've been wrong, then at the next year, hey, who knows? Maybe you'll win the lottery or something. It's just people keep believing. I do too.
So, how do you feel the internet has impacted your music career?
Well, I mean, that's a difficult question. I think the fact that everything's online these days, I'm not really sure. People say that internet, it's got changed things, and we don't need record labels anymore and what have you. We do, and I don't think anything's changed. Just the format's changed. I think that I've played a few online live gigs that I wouldn't have played had I not performed online. Maybe that's something that maybe that's a change. But I mean, everything's online these days anyway, isn't it? I mean, just all the releases, people hardly buy CDs anymore. So somebody's got a new release out, it's going to be on Spotify, or it's a very different world from, because when I think about myself as a kid, I was growing up I was a teenager in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I remember taking a bus to record stores and buying a record, an album, like vinyl record. And then these things were huge, and I'd be sitting holding that record in my hand on the way home, because you didn't have Spotify. You couldn't listen to the tunes beforehand. So if you went out and bought an album by J.J. Cale or Eric Clapton or what have you, then you'd be wondering all the way back home, it's like, what is this going to sound like?
Right.
Just counting minutes and rushing into the house and putting the record on. It's like, oh yeah, it's kind of nice. And so that experience that doesn't exist anymore, because it's kind of, don't we live in the age of instant gratification, and you click open Spotify and and damn, it's right away.
Yeah.
And maybe internet has changed all our lives, really. It's all online.
Yeah, I'm one of those collectors though, so I collect vinyls. So hopefully my future kids don't throw them away. Hopefully they collect them too.
Yeah, I often wonder about this. What's gold to you, it might be just something disposable for your kids, but you can't help that. If they're into music at all, maybe they'll really appreciate that.
That's true. That's true. So, have you ever went on tour? And if you have, where are a few of your favorite places to perform?
I have. I've done my share of live playing. But it's weird. I've had gigs that are big, thousands of people, and but you know, my favorite places to perform, oddly enough, have always been sort of intimate. You know, I was asked to play at a friend's happening couple of years ago, and I was really fun. There were like 100 people in the audience. That's a very small audience for me, and so I could just go on with my acoustic guitar and tell stories about being on the road and crazy rock and roll life, and just play songs and explain what the songs were about. And you could kind of, it was almost like a conversation between the audience and myself. I like that. I like that.
Like,
I prefer that to a large. I mean, it's great to go and play somewhere and you get like hands and people know the lyrics to your songs and you're like, wow, incredible. This is happening. But I'm sort of, as a person, I enjoy those intimate moments with friends, with my kids, with my wife. I'd rather go for that. There's something about the warmth and the interaction that really, really is appealing to me. It's kind of difficult to explain. There, it's nothing against the big ones, but since you asked, so this is your fault. I just, that's what those are those type of things I have the fondest memories.
yeah, I agree with you. I agree because you get that intimacy, like with the people, you get to connect with them on a different level. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you can clearly see if what you're doing is transcending, and you can see, obviously it's awful if it isn't, because then you can see that as well. But it hasn't happened to me yet, so but hopefully it never will.
Nice, nice. So, I do have one last question. What is one piece of advice or message you would give to your fans who want to pursue music or who love your music?
Find an easier career. I think, no, I mean, I'll just pursue music if it's something that you absolutely and truly love. I think if because there nowadays, when you have the reality shows and people want instant gratification, if it's just that you want to become famous, there are far easier routes to do that. I think in if you want to make it in music, it's really going to be a long road anyway, because presumably nobody wants to be a one-hit wonder. I'm kind of almost positive that people have more ambitious goals than that. So I think you need to love music. And it's not to say that I always loved music. When I was a kid, I think that the reason why I wanted to become a recording artist, and I remember this moment clearly. I was 14 and I was watching a rerun of the Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, on TV. The beginning where they run away from this mob of beautiful teenage girls trying to, get their hands on the Fab Four. And I remember watching that. And I'm thinking like Lennon's hiding in the phone booth and whatever. And I'm thinking like, that's not a bad job. I want to be chased, down the street with whatever city that I've been by pretty girls. So but that can't be the only reason, because you have to be in it for the long haul. And if you lack true love for music, then it might as well just pack it in before you even start. It's gonna be, it'll end at some point anyway. So my advice is that just pursue it only if you love it. It's a long road, but good luck, as you tell me.
That's true. That's great advice. I want to thank you so much, Tom, for coming on my podcast today and chatting with me.
Hey, thanks. It was a pleasure. Is this over already? I was just getting started, but maybe we'll have to do another one of these days. So, but anyway, thanks for having me. So I really appreciate this.
You have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Cheers.
Hey everyone, I want to thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Tom. So if you would like to listen to his music, it is on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, and it's on all music platforms. So if you want to check out his music, you can go on there. His name is Tommy, and and I've linked it on my website. You can go on my website at sheblurbs.wixsite.com/sheblurbs. It's on my podcast. So You can go in there, click on the link, and then you can see a bio about him, and you can also view his website. I want to thank you all so much for listening to my podcast, and thank you all so much for supporting. I hope you have a great day and make great choices. Bye.